Welcome back to the Guy Dawson Show at the World Center of Broadcast Media, WCOBM.com, and we still want to encourage you to send messages. Mary is a woman who has a lot to say, and she would love it if you'd send her a message and ask her what she thinks about the political climate in America right now and her views. And there's a point that I wanted to talk to you about, Mary, that has been very prominent in the news lately, particularly with the presidential candidate, Donald Trump, where people have been asking him about his views on being pro-choice, pro-life. He had a stance of being pro-choice at one point in his life, and now he's flipped. And what do you think about all of this?
Well, I think becoming a grandparent can change a lot of people's minds. When you're young and you're out there, you have your certain goals in which you want to live your life and you want to achieve and you want to do. You can be thinking one way, but when you start getting older and your children starts having children and your life is starting to come to an end, you realize just how precious life is. And so it's very easy to be young and pro-choice and then all of a sudden turn around and say, you know what? It's not fair killing these babies. But the one thing, he's running for an office where being pro-choice or pro-life is something that makes a big difference, because he's the one who is going to be suggesting nominees for the Supreme Court. Me running for Congress, I won't have any part of the process of even advising and consenting to whoever he chooses for the Supreme Court. I'm a firm believer that the Constitution reserves all the medical stuff to the states, and so the federal government should stay out of it anyway. And something that even Republicans need to face, there is such a legal term as stare decisis. There's been a decision in Roe v. Wade. That decision has come before the court, even with some of the conservative justices on the court, and it has not been disturbed because there has to be a viable reason to change that decision before you can change it. So I don't think in my lifetime we will see an end to Roe v. Wade, and I believe the Republicans who are out here running for office right now are answering questions that there's really no need for them to be answering, and getting themselves into hot water and creating this war on women outlook when it really does not exist, because we are not going to change it for at least the next 20, 30, 40 years.
And what would you say to people who are Republicans who disagree with you being pro a person's decision, basically, right? I mean, it's running as a Republican when you have a lot of people who have staunch stances about being pro-life. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You being a candidate, how does that sit with you?
Sometimes it's hard. Me personally, walking down the street, I would not go to an abortion clinic today and have an abortion. I could not do this to a baby. But being pro-choice is not pro-abortion. Pro-choice means that it's none of my business what another woman or another man does. It is not my business what a woman and a doctor decides to do. It is not my business what a woman and her God is going to be discussing at the end of times. It's not my business, and it shouldn't be the government's business. You want us to stay out of the bedroom, then stay out of the bedroom. If you want us to stay out of your business life, then stay out of the bedroom, stay out of the womb, stay out of things that don't concern you.
Running as an outsider is kind of a popular theme, at least during this political cycle. It really has not been a very popular thing up until the last couple of political seasons. What is it like being out in the community as an outsider, being the atypical politician? How do people respond to you?
At first, they start looking at me like, oh, just some politician. And then when they start listening to what I have to say, and the fact that I blur the lines between libertarian, Republican, nonpartisan, independent, and Democrat. I blur all the lines because there are good parts in both the Republican and the Democrat stances, the Libertarian and the nonpartisan and the independent stances. You combine them and you finally get to something in which the American people can live with. And when the public realizes that that's my thoughts, they're wide open. I have people that's like, well, I haven't voted in 10 years, and I think I'll go register to vote now. I actually have people that's starting to enjoy listening to the politics and the political climate, and they're starting to pay more attention. They're finally realizing that this country is being destroyed, and they're not even paying attention to it.
And you have some stances on things that would be also considered atypical for a Republican, in that you didn't support the Iraq War.
I did not. I really did not believe that it was the American people's business to tell another sovereign nation what they should or should not do inside of their own borders. I did not like the fact that they were killing their own people and using them as guinea pigs with the Syrian gas and all that other stuff, but it was not our business. The Middle East had been working in that way for a very long time, and it was staying in the Middle East. They were used to the way that they all thought, so it was not our business. And now look at the can of worms that we opened back in 2003 when we invaded Iraq. That was not what we should have done.
And right before we went to the commercial break, I had mentioned the fact that you are a disabled veteran.
I am.
What are your thoughts about the way that veterans are being treated, and what would be some of your ideas on how we could improve the lot of veterans?
The American people seem to think that all we have to do is go out here and say, oh, we love veterans and we love our military people and everything is cool. Well, it isn't. You walk out there when military people, especially your National Guard and your Reserve, go out there and they try to get a job, you'd be surprised that even though it is against federal law, how many of these men and women are threatened with their jobs if they go do their weekend warrior or their month time and all these other requirements for that. The American people do not accept veterans. They still look down upon veterans to some degree, as bad as they did our Vietnam veterans. And only because this group of men and women who are highly trained, highly motivated, and the only thing standing between you and a communist country, and yet they want to look down on them and think, well, we don't need them. We don't need them working for us. They may go postal on us. And that's the farthest thing from the truth.
What types of changes would you make if elected for veterans in terms of the VA, homeless vets?
I believe some of the things that needs to be done is that the processing of moving them from being an active duty person to a disabled veteran should start while they're active duty. 9 chances out of 10, if they've been over in theater or they've been injured in any way, they're going to have some sort of disability, and that disability can be determined before they reach the time for them to be getting out. Just smoothly move them over. We can take the job description and make it where it fits the civilian job descriptions a lot better, and then it's going to be easier for our veterans to get jobs instead of waiting to go through all the testing and low man on totem pole. And there's just a smoother way of transitioning our veterans from active duty to the civilian world.
Mary Perry is a woman with many thoughts, and she is a straight shooter, and we're going to take our last commercial break, and when we come back, I do want to touch on the fact that you are practicing family law, and we could probably take a whole show.
Yes.
Just talking about being a family law attorney here in Vegas, but I want you to share some of your experiences, and we'll talk more about the campaign, too, when we come back.
Thank you.
See you all in a few minutes.